take a second and just listen to like how quiet it is.
All I hear is...
All I hear is... Thank God for this music called heavy metal.
The biggest snake pit you've ever created. I don't know which microphone I'm supposed to go to.
Hey, pay attention to this, okay?
This is church. This is where tens of thousands of people come to worship at the altar of heavy metal and the best to ever do it, Metallica. When it's empty, this is an alien space. When it's full, this is where Metallica belong. In Amsterdam, Ajax Stadium, day 1, M72 Tour.
So, Zane,
Yeah?
did you see our new toy?
Oh, it's a new toy. Look at it, isn't it
Isn't it
pretty?
a great new toy?
It's a great new toy.
It's awesome.
Giant donut.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Big chocolate donut.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's so clean and so beautiful looking, and to see the effort that your crew put into making it feel so compact, given the size of it, kind of blows me away. It's almost an illusion. I know how big it is. I saw the looks on your faces when you walked in.
Well, yeah, 14 times around is a quarter mile.
1 mile.
Really?
It's a mile.
Oh, I've already put lots of miles on it. No wonder I'm more tired.
Somebody said the other day that the stage that we played indoors on,
Yeah.
from 17 to 19, could fit in the snake pit.
In the snake pit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's pretty crazy.
It is beautiful to look at though like this. And it really drives home the fact that a lot of the power of a Metallica show is concealed and left to you to bring the power. So I think about like what I would normally see at a rock show, the presence of amplifiers, chords, all those things. I'm trying to remember when you first removed that as a part of the show. Do you remember what tour it was when you started to conceal that?
Yeah, it was the Black Album tour and the Snake Pit stage.
Yeah.
That was pretty much our first venture into going into doing something completely different with the live show.
Yeah.
Because we had the Diamond stage with the Snake Pit in the middle, but it wasn't in the middle of the arena. It was like 2/3 set back, and all the backline was underneath of us.
Yeah, it's so cool when you see it like this and you realize like just how much flexibility and movement it gives you. Normally you're pretty stark, stand still behind a drum kit, and perhaps it's going to move around in a circular motion. Everything's moving around you. You got 4 of these things on the stage. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, I mean, it actually does, like Kurt brought up, goes back to the Black Album was the first time where we started kind of fucking with the concept and how can we do it differently. And on that tour, there was a drum kit on either side. Subsequently, I think on the Load tour, we had 2 stages, one at either end of the arena with a drum kit on each of them. And then I think on St. Anger, we had a stage that kind of spun around, Death Magnetic, something else. I mean, we always loved toying with and fucking with the configuration. But when we've played indoors, we've always loved to try to be in the middle of the arena. But then the opposite of that is when we played festivals or played stadiums or even smaller places or whatever, we'd be one end. So the whole thing is always about screwing with the configuration and always trying to play in a different setup. But obviously we've never done 4 drum kits, and we've been here a few days trying to get the practicals of that figured out. And Jimmy, my long-suffering tech, has put in a hell of a week, and he's on the day 3 of a bender sitting down in the Canal District somewhere.
Figuring out how he can hand in his resignation and preserve the friendship.
Right, and hire 4 other guys.
Exactly.
1 per kit or something.
Jimmy,
You're in good hands.
Jimmy, have some help. No, I don't want it. It's too much for me to do by myself. Well, have some help. No, I want to do it by myself.
know.
It's that whole thing.
But it's something to protect. It's, this is the crew that's ridden with you for a long time.
Yeah.
And, not enough
So the trenches,
conversation is is had about the people that ensure that when you go on that stage, you get to do the best you can do without thinking about all that stuff. You know, it's unsung hero work.
It's very much unsung hero work. And, you know, from the first sketches of an idea of this toy, you know, designing, practicality, sonically, visually, how does it all come together? You know, first of all, it is about the songs, portraying the songs the best they can be possible. So PA, very important. Visuals in a big place like this, very important. And obviously our comfort on a stage, and the place I think we feel most comfortable is as close as possible to the audience, you know. So this whole idea, you know, our road crew, you know, they're hanging out in the trenches around the outside, you know. It's like, where do you put these guys, you know? They're right out there with the people too. So they're probably getting stuff thrown at them or asking questions. Hey, hand me one of those or whatever.
Well, real hardcore fans will know who they are.
autographs.
Yeah, they'll know they do.
Exactly,
For sure.
Chad.
Giving away their own
Chad, old
page.
chap. Yeah. I follow you on Instagram. Yeah, whatever it is. But
Nice little black market for used sticks going on down on the
side,
front row there.
side hustle.
hey, I need to get a piece of that. But the whole idea is to make this feel like an arena. I still look at this and think, this is not a stadium.
It's so crazy.
It's not a stadium.
And even when I walk into stadiums like this and I see everything set up before people are in it, it feels intimate. It does feel big when there's people in it.
And wait till we get to America, because the first thing that dawned upon me was that in America, where we're playing basically all NFL stadiums, the sides are tighter because an NFL field is narrower than a European football pitch. So in all the American gigs that start in August, the sides are going to be kind of where that orange line is. So there's going to be a deeper sense of intimacy with the audience, because it is more like a bowl, like where a lot of the European stadiums are more like this. So
I'm so happy to be here to see you guys here at the start of this tour. This feels like a leap forward. That's what I love about being here. Like, you're about to embark on another adventure. And I think about expectation. I know what we expect, the ticket holders. We want the show of our lives. We want it to be the best show of the tour every single night, right? I wonder how you've kind of been able to manage that through a lifetime of expectation, taking that really seriously every night.
We want the same. We want the same. We're fans too. We're the 4 biggest fans of Metallica in the world, sitting right here. We want it to be the best for us, selfishly, but also for the people who support us and the family, as we call them, come here and, you know, shake off the COVID or whatever they got, you know, going on in their lives, to come here. You know, as you look out here, you see this is designed around the audience. To get an audience in the middle, on the sides, and everywhere. They're a huge part of our show.
Well, we are Metallica, and so are you.
Exactly.
And that is the line. I mean, that stakes it right away.
And they're, you know, again, we get to look at them. They're the show for us. They're looking at us. You know, we get to watch them do their thing and morph and change and hopefully leave happier than they came in.
Definitely. So let's get inside the experience then, seeing as how we're pre-experienced. That moment, the ecstasy of gold. You've heard it how many times in your life? I almost played it when you walked in here, but I don't want to give you an anxiety attack. I mean,
It would. Actually, it was on TV just a couple weeks ago.
It must freak you
and
out.
I just flipped on the TV just to have some noise.
You're supposed to be like, let's go!
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was right in that scene, you know, where Tuco's running through the graveyard, and oh my God! Even just doing that, I get goosebumps. You know, it's connected to us. So I can only imagine what the fan feels when they hear that.
Well, you can hear it because we all sing it back to you.
Well, you know, it's, as our manager said, it's like a calling.
It is.
You know, when you hear that,
It is.
you know, it's revving up the engines,
It
you
is.
know. Metallica is imminent.
Yeah, you're here, you're in the building, it's happened. It's a part of the experience of a fan of knowing we're about to do something here. Has that feeling changed for you pre-show when that music plays and you know the show's about to start? Is it the same sense of anxiety, excitement?
Yeah, you know, it's a real mixture of emotions, but it's always a huge shot of adrenaline, at least for myself. And, you know, I do have expectations
Yeah.
for myself
Yeah.
that I need to fulfill, you know? And so
Yeah.
for me, just like being in the moment and being totally present and just concentrating on doing the best I can is all I can do,
Yeah,
you know? And it's
yeah.
all I ever really think about in those few moments when we're just about to walk out.
It also lets you know that you need to be there. Like if we're in the bathroom or something, you know, where it's just like, damn.
Yeah.
You know, you start
It's
running.
him.
He's
Where's
the
Rob?
guy.
It's him.
Where's Rob? I know where Rob is.
The thing is,
Always in the bathroom.
bro, when I said it's been 20 years since we met for the first time,
It's part of the ritual.
that means it's been 20 years since you joined the band, bro. Your era is well and truly established. You can't be late for shows now, man.
Oh,
You gotta
man.
get it
But
going.
that will always let you know
Yeah.
that you need to get moving.
Yeah,
The toilet flushing is part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it too.
I think a lot of it is it's about leaving something behind, which is the day, the week, the month, whatever you've been carrying around, and freeing yourself of that as you walk to the stage. And then the other thing is connecting with people, connecting with the other guys in the band.
Yeah.
At its best, when it really works, it's a connection to each other and to the audience, breaking down those security barricades and doing away with those and becoming one. And the great thing about having the opportunity to do these type of configurations is that you maximize the potential for that connection, because there's literally there's just more areas where more people can connect with band members and vice versa. Every show you strive for the best and you accept that some days are better than others, and it doesn't mean that anybody else will ever notice that. And you know, if you're playing, you know, night one here and night two here on Saturday, you know, we may have a thing or something with the monitors, or somebody has a shittier day that it's harder for them to shake off or whatever. But 99% of the people that are here will obviously not be able to know the difference between, you know, 110% and 105% or whatever. And sometimes you can even sit there and go, fuck, man, I'm fucking nailing it, and I'm in the most euphoric state possible. And then other days you're kind of at 80 or 90% and you're sitting there and you're going, fuck, I wish I was more in it or whatever. And then you come off stage of that show and people go, that's the best I've ever seen you play.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's always those kind of contradictions in it.
That's an important part of the process, I think, of being a musician, and allowing the audience to tell you what you did and allowing them to reflect upon you, because the internalization of this experience, I think, can be really challenging. You know, your job is to project at all times, especially when you're performing and on stage. But to your point, if you're not feeling it, you could carry that experience away and it could really hold you down for a long time in a bad way. That's when you got to lean into the fans. I think about those really amazing moments, both on the record and in shows that I've never seen, where the fans have done that for you. Do you think, thinking about it now, that ultimately it's been the fans that have gotten you through, the thought of the fans have gotten you through some of the toughest times, the desire to stay connected?
Absolutely. And us being fans of what we do too. I don't think through COVID, through the deaths, through accidents, through broken bones, there's never been a doubt in my mind that we wouldn't continue. You know, it might suck right now, but we're gonna push through this in some form or another. Your Napsters, your all of these things.
Not even during
There's
those
many
really tough
things.
personal times for you the first time around, 20 years ago, when you were really going through that first wave. We spoke about that before, but that wasn't a moment when you were like, is this my life?
Well, there was a moment where it definitely had to be taken away to realize how much I care,
Powerful.
how much I care about it, and how much we all care about that thing too. And that is needed at times.
Yeah.
You know, when you're pampered, when everything's fine.
Yeah.
You know, when the rug gets yanked out from under you, gratitude. Realizing what you do have and how much you do love it, and you're gonna miss it. We don't know much else. you know, we love what we do, and this is what we get to do, and be of service to ourselves and the world with it.
You can hear it on the new album. Boy, you
Thank
can
you.
hear it on the new album. You know, I saw you coming out of a lift as I was getting into a lift. And I think I was like, oh, you know, I've got 10 seconds with Lars because he's on the move. And I think I said something, I can't remember, you might remember, I said something like, no one can be mad at this one.
You said that?
Thank you.
No one can
thank
be
you.
mad at this one.
That's funny.
I mean, the last month, it's a variation of the question, where does that energy come from? And you know this, I love to try to intellectualize it and try to find the answers. Way too close to it still to, need to have more time in the rearview mirror. And whether it came out of the darkness and the despair and the uncertainty of COVID, it all plays a little bit of a part in it. But like we've heard ourselves say over the years, as long as the body parts, the knees, the elbows, the shoulders, the throats, everything, as long as they're capable, we still have that energy and that fire when we're playing together. And it's hard to imagine, the sub conversation is like, how do you still find all that energy and that relentlessness when you're successful and, all that horse shit they throw at you. But when the four of us in a room together, and still this time around, 2 or 3 years ago when the project started, it still feels, you take all this away, all this fucking away with all, the four of us are just playing music. That part of it has not changed since 40 years ago, when we're just like a great riff, a drum part that fits with it, and we're all feeling that the possibility of where that song can take us. That has not fucking changed one iota in 40 years.
That is the success. That is the success. People keep dangling in front of you like it's going to distract you, but they're missing the point. The point of the success is a byproduct of that, right? That's what we buy into. That's what we want to hear. Is the four of you sounding unified and together and dialed in.
And still chasing the ultimate riff. That will never die.
And shit I've never heard before, and I'm gonna get the pronunciation
and still
wrong.
chasing, if I may add on to what James said, and still chasing some weird thing, maybe more so now than ever. And people kind of roll their eyes when I say this. Still chasing acceptance, or still chasing fitting in, or still chasing like, hey, we're still hovering on the outside and we're these like misfits and these, disenfranchised musicians that don't really belong in the cool kids club.
Yeah.
And people go, oh, you're so successful. It's like, yeah, but 40 years later, I still feel like I'm on the outside.
Are you saying you want to stay on the outside, or are you saying you use that as fuel to try to get on the inside that you're never going to get into, by the way?
We're still waiting for the invites to the cool guys club.
Shut the fuck up, Metallica. Shut the fuck up. You fucking serious?
Well, that's what it feels like.
I think it's
my
part
God,
of
it's a feeling.
Part of
James,
what
you're
you
being awfully quiet in the corner there. I don't know if you buy that.
It's just a feeling, whether it's
I don't
true
think-
or not,
We chase that, but we don't want to be in it.
You don't want to be in it?
No.
We don't.
No, I think it's
By the
that
way,
carrot.
did I just tell Metallica to shut the fuck up unless I'm still sitting here on the set? Did I get away with that?
Yeah, you did. We're fine with that.
As far as I'm concerned, this is the cool guy club for me. This is the
doubt.
cool guy club.
Yeah, go on.
But bottom line, I mean, we enjoy playing music.
Yeah.
We enjoy creativity. When we get in a room, like when we're up there in our zone, we're like teenagers again.
yeah.
And the things that these guys throw out there, I'm just laughing because I'm the new guy, but I'm sitting there laughing.
No, you're not.
No, it's hilarious. The energy is beautiful. And that's what's special about this is the instruments. Lars gets on the drums, we get on our instruments, and the ideas flow. There's no shortage of riffs, bass lines, grooves. A lot of bands, when they've been around as long as Metallica has, they can't come up with riffs. They can't, they're just not inspired.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen here. In fact, we've got an abundance. I can't tell you how many riffs I had that were never came to, that were never heard. And that's a good thing. It's a great problem to have. There's a lot going on here creatively, and that's why I still think about the next round. And 72 Seasons is a badass record.
Badass record.
Right?
Wait till you hear 73 seasons.
Wait till you hear 73 seasons, right?
144 seasons.
17 miles a night around that fucking. You guys are going to be going back to your hotel comparing your steps at the end of the night. Like, how many steps did you do tonight? You got to pick up the pace. There's can someone please pronounce the last song on the record, please?
Inamorata.
Thank you. That's a riff I've never heard. I've never heard something that's that brilliantly, discordantly fucking heavy, right? That's one of my favorite riffs you've ever written on your 11th studio album.
Written on Zoom, by the way.
Crazy.
Lars and I sitting there fiddling around, trying to connect over Zoom, right? The Pandora's box was opened at that point.
Yeah.
We're bored. let's do some stuff. And that was one of the riffs that came out of that session.
How did you feel when you came up with it? I want the feeling.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think about it, man.
No, but when you heard it, when it came out of you, were you just like
I was thinking, wow, that's pretty cool. That's pretty fucking cool. Thank you, Tony Iommi, or whoever I just channeled, you know?
Yeah.
Or Cliff, or whoever it is. Thank you. Or thank you, guitar, for spitting that one out, you know? It just happens. I can't explain it, and I don't want to know. You know, I'm a messenger. I'm a vessel of riffs.
Yeah.
And Lars has the spectacular ear of, what was that?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know what was that. Play it
special.
back.
It was special. I mean, from the first moment, it was special.
So fucking good. I gotta hear it.
And it didn't start. Obviously, it didn't start off as an 11-minute song, but
Is that the longest song you've ever made?
yeah. But it wanted to keep going, and there was a feeling as the ideas continued to show up that it's like the song was calling out for, now we got to take these detours, and now we got to go here, and this bass breakdown.
Oh, fuck right off. Dear, it is. Oh my God, the first time I heard that, I was like, I want to like break something, but then I also want to like burst into tears. It was the weirdest combination of emotion and rage.
It's the
very
two-string slide up with that wiggle that Tony Iommi like planted in my head when I was, 16 years old. Just that, you know, hey, pay attention to this, okay?
Yeah, but the second half of that riff is where the heartbreak kicks in. It's a deep album.
Very melancholy. Like that riff just had a different, I hear all the riffs, and these guys are kind enough to sort of let me cherry pick the ones that, will turn into songs. And from the first time I heard that, it was just like that sits somewhere else.
I think about the words on this album, I've always listened to what you've had to say. And we all have. Millions of us have listened to you get closer and closer and closer and closer to the truth every single album. I feel like you fucking went there. On this album, I said this today to a group of people I was talking to, asked me what I thought, and I said, in my life, did I ever expect James Hetfield at this point in his life to open up himself to the degree that he has? This is where most people decide, I've shown you enough, my identity is my identity, I'm gonna go live the rest of my life, I'll live with my mistakes, don't ask me any fucking questions, I'm done. You do the opposite.
I'm a work in progress, buddy. I mean,
thank you, by the way.
And life is a work in progress for me and for all of us. We all go through stuff. We all uncover things from our 72 seasons, and we're still working through whatever. Trauma, old, new, big T, little t, whatever it may be. There's still stuff, and we're all trying to get better at navigating life. And I think a lot of the lyrics on this record have a little more of an inkling of hope in them, sprinkled in there.
But only, in my opinion, James, because you seem to be willing to stare them in the eye. That's the hope I get. There's a lot of really heavy reflection on this record, but you don't feel lost in a way.
It's the opposite, actually. It's acceptance. There's so much acceptance of where we are in our lives, where I am in my life, and I can fight, and try and change shit. At the end of the day, it's a part of me. You embrace it. You see how it works in your life, how it doesn't work. It's like having a couple people around with you all the time. It's like, hey, I know you, shut up right now, okay? Let this guy talk. There's an acceptance of the voices in the head, and where do they show up? Why do they show up? There's so much to overthink, but just accepting them and letting them have their space and being, allowing ourselves to be human.
Allowing ourselves to be human. That's a powerful fucking thing, man. That's a deep one. I think a lot of times we, as people, we find lots of different reasons to dehumanize our experiences because it's really hard to face them. Do you think what life would be like if you didn't have this and this to do it through? Because that's your superhero power, right? Is you get to charge those observations and those feelings up, and you get to go on stage with your boys and just pummel us with them.
Yeah, life would not be around. I would be long gone, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Thank God for music, and thank God for heavy metal, and thank God that we have access to it, because I get these weird thoughts in the shower. I was thinking, what if we're the four of us or a group of people 100 years ago? How would we express ourselves? Would it be like a group of poets? Group of painters?
You get deep in the shower, Kirk. I love this. It's awesome. Keep going. Keep going.
What
I love
soap
this
are you
story.
using? What soap are you smoking in there?
Just a lot of caffeine. Lots of caffeine.
Lots of caffeine. Yeah.
And it's just like, it would have been a completely different existence for us. We would probably be making like heavy poetry or something, heavy painting. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like heavy
I love it.
plays.
I love it. Yeah. But heavy.
But heavy. Heavy. It would still be heavy. So that's my point is, thank God for this music called heavy metal.
Yeah.
That we all coexist in and live our lives in and like draw inspiration from. It really encapsulates, at least for me, so much of my inner experience, ever since I was a kid to just this moment, It's why I love this music so much.
Highly emotional.
It's so emotional, and it reflects the entire human experience, like, inamorata, sadness, heaviness. But, there's uplifting parts of that song too that bring you out, and there's contemplative parts of that song too, Thank God for heavy metal, because there's other types of music where it's just straight. You can't go those places.
But the thing is, right, it's so funny. The thing about music is we did such a good job as an industry of creating linear aisles, genres, experiences, and great. Tribalism is really important. We're going to see that tomorrow night. Full-on heavy metal tribalism, right? Metallica in full effect.
Well, the song Lux Eterna, that's exactly written about what you feel when you come in to a gig, a festival, or wherever you are. You're around like-minded people, you're suffering together, you're sharing your misery and your excitement all at the same time. So what light comes out of everyone's collected darkness, How
has the world changed for the better? What's going to happen? I think about music now in such a weird way. I used to be one of those people who was so focused on whatever was in front of me. And now I think about every single song and the ripple it has, every single show and the ripple it has. How many thousands of people are going to leave tomorrow night and make a different decision based on the experience they had watching Metallica show that ultimately is going to make the world a better place?
Well, I believe that the level of connectivity that occurs at a Metallica show, it's such a high vibration, and I felt it myself when I go to other shows. When I leave a show, I'm and it's a great show. I am high, I am high, and my hope is that when we play, our music brings everyone together. We all connect. And, at the end of the day, that's what people are looking for, is connection. And I know that, at some point or another, we're going to connect with our audience, and we're all going to be like just one big entity. And that feeling right there is so special. You can't really get that from day to day. You have to be a part of something big, but it's worth it, because when you leave, that feeling of connectedness, it could bleed into just like, okay, next day, you go to a grocery store, and you see someone who needs some help, maybe you still have that feeling of connectiveness. And
I think maturity really helps you with that. I think as you get older, you get wiser. You get to be able
there's
Absolutely.
that element of, as Kirk is talking about connecting, there's also an element of safety in a way, in that the strength in numbers thing, and about the collective being together, that the more you're together with like-minded people, the more you can express yourself and feel safe within that collective, within that group. And I think, when Kirk is sitting talking about, thank God for this and thank God for heavy metal and so on, and also thank God for being in a group, in a gang, in a band, in a collective of people that are aging mostly the same way, was just that they're very comfortable with the aging process in itself. If two guys were, being more comfortable, being vulnerable and taking the mask off and expressing themselves that way. And two other guys were, chasing the fountain of youth and trying to pretend that they're still 30 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
That would bring a lot of internal conflict. But the fact that we're 40 years into this, we're knocking on the door at 60, and we're comfortable with who we are at this point in our lives,
Yep.
with the path that we've been on, the path that's ahead of us, paying the respect to the bodies, to the health, to the mental health, to the physical health, to all of it. But it's not something that's being swept under the carpet and it's and trying to be pretended away. It's a big part of who we are. It's certainly something that I'm incredibly proud of.
It's because you're open. There's an openness to this band now. You talked about the feeling of being high, and I think about the fact that the only way you can get to that now is because you're not. Because you're open to the elements and you're not actually distracting yourself and you're not actually putting yourself into a place where you're numbing yourself from that pressure and that I don't know what to do with this. It's true, right? To some degree, youth is wasted on the young, right? When you don't have the tools to deal with the experience, to be open enough to be present. A lot of people are figuring that out now. But man, you think about all those shows you did when you were not sober and you couldn't get that close to that feeling, right? Do you think about that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got into a cycle where it's just like, play a show, go out, stay out all night, then wake up the next day hungover, go out on stage, sweat the hangover out on stage, and then go do it again.
This is my job.
Yeah, but there was no progression. When I was doing that, I was just kind of like just staying at this one level. It took me a long time to notice that I wasn't progressing, wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And, over time, you notice, you take it into account, and you do what you need to do to get back on track.
Yeah.
And it makes all the difference in the world. Having a clear head about everything, and especially on stage, it makes a mountain of difference just in terms of like performance, execution, everything, my own enjoyment. It's just it's like, it makes a real
Being in the moment,
In the
just
moment.
allowing yourself to be in the moment, rather
and
than
being
trying
present, absolutely being present.
Yeah. How many new songs are you going to play on this tour? Figuring it out?
No, we got it pretty figured out. Yeah. I'll let Lars answer that because he's in charge of
north
lists and
of
things.
0, south of 12. We're representing the new album. It's been great. On Death Magnetic, we ended up playing all 10 of them subsequently through the tour. On Hardwired, I think we got up to 9 or 10 through the tour of the 12. We're going to represent. I mean, obviously we've got the 2 different set lists and no repeats and all that. So there's a different kind of structure to the set list, and it's not often you get a chance to start on a completely, blank canvas, and 40 years in, just forced to reinvent it, which I think is part of the appeal of this thing for us. Also part of the daunting thing, because there are certain safety measures in there and certain sort of flags you plant that end up being cornerstones, but we're kind of throwing it all out. And so you'll see the next couple days, but it's represented well, and we look forward to it. And playing those, I mean, we've been jamming those songs for the last 3-4 weeks, and they are fun to play, and they're real like, ugh. And what you were kind enough to say about the relentlessness and the energy and so on, I mean, it's definitely going to be fun the next few days to get them out there. And the musical language of them obviously is a true representation of our current headspace. So with some of the earlier songs, when you go back to revisit them, there are some tweaks you have to make and maybe some reinterpretations that you do along the way, and they kind of morph as your headspace continues to sort of move in different places. But these songs are fresh out of the oven, obviously, and they're right in the current wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool.
So doing the set list and kind of being, from what you're saying, ultimately responsible for the way that the show maps out every single night. I've never asked you this, like, that's a heavy responsibility. Obviously, on a night when it's a great show, you can pat yourself on the back and go, man, I took my boys out and we took out 80,000 people with the perfect run. But you've got a lot of songs to represent, a lot of fans to try to make very happy. Do you relish that responsibility?
I mean, I don't know if relish, but I accept it. And James likes to point out I obsess over it in the best of ways, of course.
As we all do about our own things.
Of course.
Yes.
Everyone has
And,
obsessive qualities.
And I take it seriously. First of all, the fact that these guys trust me enough to carry that is a huge thing. So in terms of not letting the team down, of course. But I've been doing it for a long time, basically the whole time, and I have tools now available, and so it becomes a combination of new album. It becomes a combination, obviously, of what's called the toe tapping favorites.
Do you ever sit there and just crack yourself up and just draw a line through Master of Puppets just for 5 minutes, just to see what it looks like?
Yeah, there's
Can you
all
imagine?
kinds of. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Battery.
Last time we did a whole run last summer where we played. Enter Sandman had always obviously lived towards the end of the
Yeah, you
set
played it
down
third,
in the.
didn't you?
We played it third all last summer, and the look on people's faces. We come out, we say hello with Whiplash, we go into Creeping Death,
and
things
straight
we
into Sandman.
and then
It was
Sandman. People are like, holy fuck, is it time to go home already?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Are we going to stay or should we leave?
Yeah, exactly. Is this a VA? Well, I remember I saw one of Prince's last ever shows. I was so grateful to see it, and he started with Purple Rain. And I remember feeling like I was watching the encore at the end, at the beginning. The whole thing was so surreal to me. And so I can understand from a fan's perspective how that just would throw you for a loop.
Well, and a band perspective, it's like your body.
Yeah.
Body memory.
Yeah.
We're up there, we're playing the last song third. It's like, oh, are we done? I got too much energy left.
So it's in the deeper cuts. We have a database that one of our great crew guys runs that have every time we've played in Holland and in Amsterdam. Literally exists in a database, and so on all the deep cuts, we can see, the Holier Than Thous, or the Leper Messiahs, or the whatever, Harvester of Sorrows, or the Trapped Under Ice, or whatever.
Moving the needle?
Last time we played that deep cut in Holland was in 2004 or whatever. So that one we can bring out again because it hasn't been there for 20 years. So it's a balance of all these different
Do you
things.
do the data thing as well? Do you go through the data and figure out, because it's so regionally specified now, do you go through and go, look, I didn't realize that song on that album actually over-indexes in Holland or anything like that? Do you go that deep?
Not to that level. No, it's just more, like I said, it's a combination of obviously what we want to play. It's a combination of the few songs that should be played, and then it's just figuring out the deeper cuts. So when you play a special song, then you don't end up playing that special song in that same city every time. And every time we're in Holland, Amsterdam, is to give people a different show. And so here we are at Johan Cruyff Stadium Arena. Last time we played at Pink Pop. The time before that, we played next door at the arena, the Zego Dome. So every time you're in there, you're playing a different place, different stage setup with a different song list. So it's always a different experience for the fans, and it's always a different experience for us. So you don't fall into that autopilot thing. And now it's 3 years later, and here we are at the same stadium with the same setup and the same 16 songs and all that. So it's just always trying to mix it up.
There's a reason why people hold hundreds of ticket stubs with Metallica on them. I mean, your friend Eddie figured it out too. I mean, there's a reason why he goes and sits in the stadium and writes Pearl Jam set list an hour before the show.
Yeah.
Because, he knows that you want to go multiple Pearl Jam shows, you just don't know what they're going to play.
Yeah, and we're so proud. On the Hardwired tour, we introduced a ticket called the, black ticket. Now it's called the, I Disappear ticket. And you buy that one ticket, and you go to every show on the tour.
You get the one laminate.
Yeah.
I always joke about the one laminate. I was joking with Boy Genius about this the other day, and I was like, you guys are going to get to one laminate stage, where it's like such a big world tour. Here's your one. To give that to a fan is more precious than almost anything. It's like you really are in the club now.
It's a crazy thing. I mean, you'll see tomorrow around the barricades and around the, obviously we're starting from scratch here, but within a few shows, there'll be a group of Latin Americans, there'll be a group of Europeans, there'll be some incredible people from Asia and all wonderful parts of the world that will follow us around. They'll be in the same spots, kind of in front of maybe their favorite band member, and we'll be singing James's lyrics back to him or doing the drum parts and all this type of stuff. And these people are insane. They go on tour with us. They really go on tour with us, and it's so beautiful because it goes back to that safety thing that I was talking about. If I'm sitting up there, okay, I'm out of it for a few minutes or whatever, and I look down and I see the same 5. There's a guy that James is always talking about that will just drum my parts back to me. And it's just like, there they are. It's safety, It's like, I know I'm safe because we've got our fans that follow
him. You can ask him.
We have a good drummer. No, it's funny because when Lars will do something different or maybe even make a unique mistake or unique playing part, me and the fam will look at each other like, and then keep going on. It's like, next,
Because the dude will go,
oh, totally.
That's hilarious.
It's fantastic. Oh yeah, and they know when you screw the lyrics up, and it's just like, okay, whatever, it's okay,
But it goes back to
The
the thing we were
acceptance of it
talking
all.
about is 30, 40 years ago when we were coming off stage, we would sometimes we would get into fist fight. You fucked that up. You fucked it up. No, you fucked it up. Now we sit back there. First thing we'll do for the first 10 minutes when we come off stage tomorrow is we'll sit and in a funny, humorous way, we'll kind of go, ha ha, in that song when we played, James sang this out, or I did the wrong beat or whatever. Now we kind of go, ha ha ha, that was really funny.
Did you like my edit?
They're our songs, and as far as we're concerned, we can do with them what we want.
Absolutely.
We don't have to play them perfect. And so now we connect over the fact that we're human, and that, so that pressure on, fuck, I'm going to get back in the dressing room and somebody's going to yell at me. It's like, it's just that human thing, and it makes you feel safe, and it makes you feel that it's all worth it,
Are you any close to working on what was driving that pressure for all those years? Was it, the most obvious thing is maybe fear.
Perfectionism.
Some kind of fear.
But it buried in some level of insecurity.
If we're not
is
perfect, someone might take it away.
Insecurity.
Yeah, criticism, insecurity, fear of being judged. You name it. There's a whole list right there of
fear
and
not
it all
fitting in.
all falls under the insecurity, umbrella.
That doesn't go away, James.
It does not.
Those fans, there are still those people that will be disappointed with this and love that, and they'll swing like a seesaw at all times. And so,
And same within myself
Yeah.
as well. I have an expectation. I didn't meet it. Oh God. And like Lars was talking about earlier, hey, that was great. Like, no, it wasn't. But the expectations just always get in the way.
but you summed it up beautifully before when you said just accepting the fact that you're human.
Yeah, allowing ourselves to be human.
And just having compassion for yourself,
Well, the more you do that, we all have that compassion for other people. It's easier, It's easier to see that in other people.
I also think having some control over your destiny now as well, stepping out with a new album, and it's really inspiring what you're doing as an organization. If I think of you like a sports team, you're running a great season after season here. You've got your own label. You're doing things independently. Worldwide #1 album on your own label. It's fucking awesome. Slight disappointing in Lithuania, but you haven't played since 2010, so you might want to get back to Lithuania. Everywhere else #1.
Pressing our own records now.
Now you're in the pressing plant business. Thank God someone else showed up to Jack White's party, right?
If you take a step back and go, and I think a lot about this as we're going in through the promotion of this and talking about the 72 seasons, and every day people tell me about your first 72 season.
Right.
And I still go back to, who the fuck would have thought that when James and I got together in LA 41 years ago, we'd be sitting here, being at, Johan Cruyff Stadium, home of where Ajax plays, and and having a conversation about this crazy outsider thrash metal band that never fit in anywhere, buying a fucking vinyl plant. What?
I know.
Who would have thought? If you said that 40 years ago, if you said it 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, we just finished Injustice for All, and in 2023, you'll be back in Europe. You'll be doing a tour of football stadiums. You'll still be, putting out records that, somewhat relevant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you're buying fucking, vinyl plants. And,
Can't help himself.
yeah, but it still blows my mind. At least right now. Maybe it's the post-COVID, as we spent 2 years wondering what our future was going to look like, and whether we would ever get back to anything that resembled whatever normal was before that. When we were out going around Europe last year, we played 15 festivals in Europe last year and a few in America. Just being out again and connecting with audiences and seeing the European cities, having them feel like alive again. I've never seen so many fucking people on the streets of Madrid. The whole city was alive.
Yeah.
And there was a post-pandemic spirit in the
Yeah.
air of just of celebrating life, celebrating, you know, what the opportunities could be again out of that misery and despair and the uncertainty of lockdown. And I think for me, sitting here and being with these guys, having this record in our back pockets, sitting here with you, you always get the deepest shit out of us, which I love, by the way, and it's just a sense of gratitude and a sense of appreciation, and a sense of just love, and you know, it's just fucking crazy. Who would have thought?
Imagine how I feel. You know, I was the guy who was drawn into your music, like everybody else is going to be here tomorrow night and every other show. Came into Metallica and was just like thrown on my back foot in the best possible way. Because there's off balance, right? Axis shifted 6 degrees to the left. I go this direction now. And I've been chasing you my whole fucking life, you know, all over the world. So to be sitting here in a place like this as well, you know, having this conversation, and the fact we're all still here, that's what's not lost on me. And I can imagine as this hour comes to an end, that really is ultimately the great achievement, isn't it? You're still here.
Yes, we're still here. We're still feeling like we're contributing to the good side, to making it better, you know. Well, that is thought about every single day, you know, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
What is the service we're bringing, you know, at the end of the day? Yeah, I say this is a toy. Yeah, it is just it's wood and metal and a bunch of aluminum put together, but with thought and with care and with love and with intent. And yeah, that'll go back to whatever it's supposed to be at the end when this is all done. But what we do with it and how we get to use this tool to connect is what it's all about.
Just take a second and just listen to like how quiet it is. It's
All I hear is,
I know.
All I hear is,
Okay,
now-
same here. Those days may have gone for you and I, right?
And now on Apple Music, silence.
Yeah. But it's just, I just love the anticipation. I almost want to do like a cut and then do that thing where it's just like the next shot is just chaos, fucking volume, blood and guts and fucking sweat and anger and emotion and all that shit that makes you guys so fucking fiery and powerful. I love it.
but yeah, I mean, you know, I definitely still feel the calling. And it's still the same call that I felt when I was a teenager playing guitar in my room. And I know it's got to be similar for the rest of these guys, you know. Still feeling hungry, still feeling like there's still music to be made, good intentions to be fleshed out and brought through our music.
I'll tell you, one of the
know?
things about this experience in recording, you know, this album and collaborating on this music was just to be in a room together again and to have that, like you feel that in the album, you feel it in every part, every note that's played. The segues, you know, that can't happen on Zoom. Some of the intro stuff and all that, you know, the tribal type of stuff, you know, all that stuff is happening. You're hearing it and experiencing it on the record. What you're listening to is what happens and what's happened. And I think that somebody said in one of the interviews the other day that when they hear this album, they see us like 3 feet in front of them. And that's what they love about it. They hear James singing. They can almost, you know, his breath is hitting them. Not bad breath, by the way, but, you know, just, you know, that energy of what...
Halitosis?
Halitosis. Let me just make that clear, you know? But I just thought that was so amazing to have somebody say that they feel that in this record, because that's something very special. They say, I see you, I close my eyes and I can see you all in front of me.
I love that.
And that's because it's the magic of the moment, you know, and that's what happens with this record.
Like, damn, that's fucking good. I wish I thought of that. That's great. Gentlemen, thanks for having us here in beautiful Amsterdam.
Thank
And,
you. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. Long may it continue.
Trekking along.
See you on the next album, right? See you down the road?
Just getting started.
Appreciate you, Zane. Thanks, buddy.
All right, then.
So,
The calm before the storm.
the biggest snake pit you've ever created.
It's insane.
It's the size of most major venues in the mainland Europe.
Yeah,
But
insane.
it's the privileged spot.
Yeah, I mean, the Snake Pit has been part of what we've been doing for basically 30 years, coming back to the going back to the Black Album days. So the Snake Pit, started off, one of our managers, back in New York in the late 80s, early 90s, the idea that when you would go to a restaurant, that the best seat in the restaurant was actually not in the house, but the best seat was in the kitchen. And so in crazy cool restaurants, if you could somehow get into the kitchen and eat in the kitchen, you were in there where all the action was.
Yeah.
So the idea that came out of that for that Snake Pit on the Black Album tour was basically to be in the middle of the stage. So we had a stage that was shaped like a diamond, and there was 30, 40 spots in the middle of that stage. Radio contest, winners, friends, family, a few crazy metalheads from around the audience would end up in that Snake Pit, and they would be on stage with us. And then it morphed. And basically for, 30 years now, the Snake Pit has been an integral part of at least a Metallica indoor show. And then in the stadiums when we've been playing outside, it's been sort of this extension of the stage. You've seen it, but they've never been like crazy big. There's been room for a couple of hundred here, a couple of hundred there, whatever, but it's always
Someone
been...
told me it's like 1,000 in here.
Yeah, we were told between 900 to 1,200, depending on the density, obviously. And as you know, when you get into these things, in different countries, the fire marshal has different, and all this. But I mean, it's going to be incredible. We've been in here for a week now, and we've been playing to the silence that you pointed out.
Yeah.
And this is a big place, and it's a European football stadium. Obviously, it's further to the sides, but when this is populated, not just with all these beautiful souls here on all the sides and on the floor, but when you get in here, and this space
So
is full of
tidy though, Lars. I gotta pay respect to everyone who's put this together. This is the most pristine, large-scale concert production I've ever seen. This makes you two look sloppy. Close in on him right now. Get the reaction. They're
I'm
Irish.
not gonna go there.
They're Irish. They'll get it.
and
Look at this, bro. I feel like I need to just. This is unbelievable.
So 36 hours from now, there'll be a lot of human.
This is fucking sick.
There'll be a lot of, will it be sweat, spit?
I don't know which
whatever.
I don't know which microphone I'm supposed to go to. Like I'm immediately like, do I go to this stage setup? Do I go to this stage setup? Do I go to this? It's like I said, it feels like an illusion.
Yeah, a few people that have come in the last couple of days, I watch them as they come in and they're disoriented.
Yeah.
It's like, where do they go? It's just like these towers, and it's just kind of crazy.
I mean, to the point where I feel like I'm seeing 6 drum kits, not 4. Like it's kind of nuts. Look what you make, man. This is crazy. Do you ever allow yourself the space when you walk into a place like this? I know we were reflecting a little bit before up on the balcony with the fellas, but to really acknowledge just those dirty, unruly, ragged beginnings, where it was like just plug in and fucking let rip.
No, it's like I said, certainly for me in the last post-pandemic, a lot of self-reflection and just way more unreal to me than it's ever been before. We just never used to slow down long enough back in the day to take any of it in.
Yeah.
And when you're always looking for the next fix, you're always looking for the next rush, you're always looking for the next thing to satisfy you, you're never in the moment. And now you and I standing here going, fuck, look at this thing.
It's also the enemy of progress, because you're not going to be able to get on a stage like this and feel it the way you are unless you were in that moment, right? You just like what comes after that show.
Yeah, I mean, when I sat up in the bleachers and looked at this thing for 2 hours, and I said, like, what have we created? And what's the answer to this next time? Where do you go from here? Because, my mind does race quite a bit. And so, maybe the answer next time is to go back and play places, do you know what I mean, where you get this kind of intimacy back. But this is really about the fact that the fans that are here, as James is walking by, or James is playing to him, or Rob is here, or I'm right here, we can exchange pleasantries and all the rest of it.
So
it is really
close.
About the intimacy of it. And there's no barricade in here.
No, this is
There's
nuts.
no... Yep.
I mean,
So
it's like,
if anybody's out there, please don't unplug any of these, because all these have a purpose. Okay?
I mean,
so
surely.
if this blue one is not in there, it could fuck up the whole gig.
You are gonna block this off, surely. Or they're just gonna sit it like this.
Maybe there'll be a little thing here.
I
Who
mean,
the
it's
fuck knows?
got Metallica on the back. Someone's gonna run out with that, bro. Someone's gonna have a crack
Like,
at
I don't
it.
even like. What is this?
What is this?
What the fuck does this do? Is that like for your Wi-Fi?
It's so awesome,
Pretty
though.
crazy.
This is obviously the biggest production that you've ever done,
Yes.
hands down.
Not even close. Yeah.
So what was the one before that? Was it hard? Was it worldwide?
Well, we've never done in the round in the stadiums, and so we've been looking to do in the round in the stadiums for probably 10,
right,
15
you
years.
haven't.
We've
It's
done in the
always
round
been
in the
arenas.
arenas. Yeah. Apart from here, you know, most stadiums, if you look up,
Yeah.
it's practical because there's no roof
Yeah.
that you can hang anything from. So everything that you're seeing here, you see the 8 towers.
Yeah.
Everything in here is what's called ground supported. So you see the PA.
Yeah.
And you see all this cabling.
Yeah.
There's nothing of this whole staging that touches the stadium
the roof.
roof. So all of this is ground supported, and it's always been about how do you set that up without being able to hang anything from the roof.
Yeah.
And the way our team cracked it was by having these towers. And the one thing that's different, because obviously U2 has played in the stadiums in the round, Garth Brooks has done it. Ed Sheeran did it last year and will do it in America this year. But the one thing that's different about this setup is there's no center point, because all those shows would have a center point.
Yes, the center
Right.
point's the
And
pit.
so the center point is right there, but you can see all those wires, they're not coming from anywhere other than those towers. So all the weight of the PA and the lights and the shenanigans are all being held up by those 8 towers. So that's the crazy thing.
This is so nuts.
It's a kind of an engineering marvel, and our team has done a fucking insanely great job of putting this whole thing together.
Insanely great. It is geometric design at its highest level.
Yes.
It's like
Structure and order, 2 things you don't associate
with
with
what?
Metallica.
Oh, fuck. Yes, you fucking do. There's no way you can play an 11-minute song at the pace you're playing it without structure and order.
It's
But
been kind of the
it's-
battle cry in the last week. We go around and say structure and
Structure and
order.
Yeah.
And symmetry. You know, see here, we're right in line. See, we're standing right here.
Yeah.
And it's right 114, 127. But this thing is right now is booked for 2 years. It's booked all the way up through the end of 24.
I love how you're doing it as well. I love how you're like, we can do this and live our lives. We can come in, maximize the amount of people. We can entertain, make happy, and then get back to something resembling a life.
Yes.
And I think if not
It's about those
that,
balances, yeah.
if
yeah.
not that, what is the definition of success? If not balance?
Those balances also is sort of what feeds it and what makes it possible, because without those balances we wouldn't be able to do it. We can go into the craziness of this world, but we can't hang out here for more than a couple weeks at a time before we need to go back and just connect with our families, with our homes, our sort of our safe zones, our comfort zones at home. And so one of the biggest places where we really are grateful for the success is the fact that we have the opportunity to come out here and just do this for say 2 weeks at a time and then go home. Because if we were to be out here for 8 months in a row, now we got to be out here till the end of the year.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it because
way.
it would just drive us off the ledge, off the cliff, It's going to be a fun place to hang out for the next couple days, and then we get 2 weeks off, and then we pick it up in Paris again
You
at
get
Stade
to
de
know
France.
it, and you get to figure it out, and you get to go and take it all over the world into these beautiful, beautiful gladiatorial spaces. It's fucking awesome.
It's interesting because I've noticed the ability when we're making records, you're in the studio, you're fucking in it, you have no perspective because you're so high on the experience and on the day-to-day of it sort of when it connects. But then leaving, that's where you get the perspective. And then you go back to the studio a month later and you go, that doesn't work, that blah, blah, blah. And it's the same thing here. When we've played these 2 shows in Amsterdam, we all fly home on Sunday, and then we have 2 weeks to Stade de France. And I think the reflective time at home, when we come back to Stade de France, we'll go, okay, that needs to be nipped and tugged, that needs to be nipped and tugged, and blah, blah, blah. And then Stade de France will be its own thing. And then for Hamburg and Germany, a week after that. So every time you're in the trenches, you get out of the trenches, back to the trenches a week later. So we set this up kind of like Nashville touring, because it's called, where we just play on the weekends.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're here, Thursday and Saturday and somewhere else Monday and Wednesday.
You get to get
or whatever.
excited about it every single
Exactly.
time.
Exactly.
I feel like we should have a good luck hug, given that we're right in the center of the entire space.
Come on.
Good luck tomorrow,
Come on.
man.
I'm so happy that you're here.
Same.
I'm so happy your whole team is here.
Same.
Thanks for joining and coming over and
wouldn't
being a
miss it.
part of this.
Oh, I got goosebumps. It feels
This
special, man.
opening moment. Yes, this opening moment. Come on. All right then.
Dude, you got Bono and the Edge on their fucking heels with this one.